And good morning and welcome to the VSA Capital 5 Minute Morning Miner. It's Tuesday, February the 14th. It's Valentine's Day. Morning, Ollie. Did you get your girlfriend a card? Did she send you one?
Yep, cards all delivered this morning. So yeah, well on top of everything.
Are you cooking her dinner?
Yes, I did have to cancel a squash match though. That was a step too far.
I think my wife would be delighted if I buggered off and played squash tonight, but I'm not. I did have a bloody hard match last night that went on for an hour and 10 minutes.
Oh, cracker.
I lost it 3-2 by the last fifth game. I'd run out of energy, but there you go. That's not what the listeners want to hear about, my squash travails. But it made the cycle ride in this morning a little bit harder. It has to be said, my legs were a bit tired. Anyway, moving on rapidly. Come on, quick. Mining. What news you got for us this morning, Ollie?
It's actually a bit of a quieter morning, but there's some news out from Emerson and Gemfields. Then perhaps we can talk about some of the lithium stocks at the end. Emerson have announced that they've appointed a syndicate of banks to complete their debt financing. So they're looking for $310 million split into two tranches, one of which will be dual currency in local dirhams. So that will be split between 230 million and 80 million dollars. They're progressing, they're hitting their milestones as they've said they would over the last couple of years, although the share price has drifted back down, but it is tricky to keep momentum when you're doing these sort of financing processes where you can't really say much during them and shareholders just want to see the end result. But I think now back at where the share price was a couple of years ago, with the MPV, that looks a pretty cheap stock at the moment, if you're prepared to hold on and wait for this process to complete.
I mean, like any mining company, it's been a long sort of build up, hasn't it? And as you say, the price actually peaked about a year ago at 10p. It's now down at 5p. But in fairness, if you'd held it since the beginning, it started off at about 2p. So you're still in the money. But, it does feel like Emerson's been about to go into or building up for production for a hell of a long time. But that is mining for you.
Yeah, although I think, as some of these stories go, Emerson has actually moved fairly quickly, notwithstanding COVID and the other challenges that have hit it since it probably came to. I think it probably came to market just before that, in 2019 or so.
Yeah, back end actually of 2017, I think. And actually, we were doing some work for them at the time. But anyway, look, I'm not getting. By the way, I think it's a great stock. I think it's a great story. So I mean, please don't get me wrong. Okay. Sorry. What next?
Gemfields, they have announced this morning that there's been an attack on a village in Cabo Delgado. Obviously, insurgent activity in northern Mozambique, where their operations are. But this is actually 15 kilometers away from one of their exploration camps, so they've evacuated personnel from there, but it means that their actual mining operations, which have been performing well recently, are unaffected. So I don't think it changes too much, but it's newsworthy.
Yep. Okay. And as you say, we were chatting about lithium first thing this morning because I spotted in the Australian Financial Review, that was my Australian accent, that the lithium sector is becoming the most shorted sector on the ASX, as basically the punters realise that some of these stocks have gone so far. And also the lithium price is actually down 11 days in a row now. And people are just starting to take money off the table. So I guess that's what you were thinking about talking about, Ollie.
Yeah, exactly. Looking at some of the short interest in those late resources, Liontown, some that had run up really strongly there. Short interest is around 7-8%, which is pretty high. And even some of the recent strong performers like Pilbara, they've still got short interest of around sort of 3%. So as you say, it's quite a significant short position across the sector. And with the spot price having come off, that has been the key driver of lithium equity sentiment over the last sort of 7-8 years at least. And while contract prices are key metric for earnings, it's been the spot price that has driven equity performance. And there's sort of two things to point out on that. The relationship between contract pricing and spot pricing. Historically, there was a lag between the two, so the contract price would move up and follow these sort of periods of really high spot pricing, but it would take time because the contracts were on such long schedules. Whereas because of the growth of the market, the same thing that happened in iron ore and coking coal is that those contract lengths are shortening, and actually the lag between the spot and the contract market is narrowing. So over time, it will all become one price. And I think the other thing there's just a subtle change in what some of the key lithium commentators on Twitter and LinkedIn are starting to talk about, encouraging people to look at long-term pricing rather than the spot price, which is often a sign that things might be about to pull back.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think it's fair to say that we are suggesting, subtly, probably time to take some profits out of certain lithium stocks. Doesn't mean to say they're bad stocks at all. It just means that maybe, the price has moved up so far that a correction is due. And in this market, there's no question that the stocks going up are going up further than they probably ought to. Stocks going down are probably going down further than they ought to. So I think it'd be fair to say that we would recommend an element of rotation, selling some of the high ones, bottom fishing for some of the low ones. So that's sort of our warning, but it's nothing against any of the lithium stocks in themselves.
Yep.
Okay, on that note, Ollie, we'll call it a day for there, and enjoy your evening with your girlfriend. And we'll speak again tomorrow and find out how it went.
Yeah. All right. Speak to you then. Cheers.